Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear.
Okay.
Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair. Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't fuzzy. Was he?
No.
No?
No, he wasn't.
Oh, I thought you were saying no to the impression. Like it wasn't that good.
I mean, it's better than I can do, so good work.
Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear.
That's offensive. No, you can't do that anymore. We in.
Woo!
Oh, he's excited.
Woo!
Wow.
I drank a lot of Baja Blast about like 6 hours ago, so I'm still very pumped.
That still got you? You have caffeine like every day.
I don't know.
I don't think that's what it is.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm just excited to do another podcast,
Yeah, man.
but that's lame to
Well,
say.
today's podcast is hella dope, so that could be why. We are doing our spoiler episode for Daredevil. That is Netflix's Daredevil TV show, not the Ben Affleck movie.
So many people think that when I'm talking about Daredevil, they think about the Ben Affleck Daredevil. There are people
Still?
out there that don't know. I swear on my life, dude. People out there that don't know about Netflix's show. They think of the Ben Affleck movie.
Where have they been?
Some people just don't know, dude.
Okay, I mean,
Some people can just, go throughout their lives not listening to Elton John. Some people just do.
yeah, that's true. All right. So we are specifically talking about season 3, but we're going to touch on stuff from season 1 and 2 as well. So my deets I've got it for season 3 because this is a TV show.
Show me your deets.
So first is our creator, which what?
Continue.
All right.
I'm laughing at myself.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Creator, Drew Goddard. You may know Drew Goddard from being the writer-director of films like The Cabin in the Woods and the recently released Bad Times at the El Royale. He also wrote The Martian.
So he adapted it from the original novel?
Yes, wrote the screenplay for The Martian. I don't know how heavily he's been involved in Daredevil since season 1. I know season 1, I'm pretty sure he served as the showrunner and the creator. I don't think he's been as heavily involved since then, but he is still credited as the creator of the show. Our showrunner for season 3 is Eric Oleson, I think is how you say it. Oleson.
Like Olsen, but with an extra syllable?
Yeah.
Okay.
He surprisingly comes from. He was a writer-producer on Arrow for only season 3. Only season 3, which was good for half the season and bad for half the season. He also was a producer on Man in the High Castle.
Have you seen any of Man in the High Castle?
I've seen the last 2 minutes of season 1 because I walked into our friend Mike's room while he was watching it and I saw it.
I would say, okay, so I've seen collectively maybe 7 episodes of Arrow. But all that I've seen from Arrow, like this is way fucking better.
Yeah, obviously. This is what Arrow wishes it was.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Daredevil is, I have a synopsis for you.
Go ahead.
Daredevil, for those who don't know, is adapted from Marvel Comics. The synopsis reads, a blind lawyer by day, vigilante by night. Matt Murdock fights the crime of New York as Daredevil. That's it. That's all it says.
That's it? That's all
That's
you
all
have
the
for
synopsis
synopsis?
says.
There's not like a separate season 3
I didn't
synopsis? No?
I didn't look. That's just the general for the show. The season 3 synopsis, I would say, is a distraught Matt Murdock attempts to move on from his friends while Wilson Fisk puts dangerous plans in motion or something like that.
Whilst rehabilitating from an explosion.
What,
Matt Murdock
while recovering from a building falling
Must-
on top of him.
must overcome a fat man in a suit as well as his inner demons. That's my synopsis of season 3.
You're just belittling my boy Willie Fisk right now. Fat man in a suit. He's more than that.
I'm not saying you can still be a powerful man and be a fat man in a suit.
So I've got cast, but I wanted to do a special little plug for another not cast member, the casting director of the show. I thought deserved some love. And her name is Julie Schubert. She was also the casting director for House of Cards.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's got good track record. I'm not going to blame her for the
Julie
Kevin Spacey
Schubert?
fiasco. Yes.
She's a fucking killer.
Yeah. And has apparently an in at Netflix. Keep using her. She's good at her job.
Yeah, because there's one of the reigning things about all 3 seasons of Daredevil is the performances and how well casted the show
wonderful acting. So I've got our cast here. I've got it split into the main cast, which is, the main people. And then I've got a couple supporting characters that I wanted to mention just because of how good they were. So our main character, Matt Murdock, Daredevil, is played by Charlie Cox. Anyone who doesn't know Charlie Cox, you might know him from The Theory of Everything, Boardwalk Empire, and Stardust are the kind of the
He's
biggest.
in Boardwalk Empire?
Yeah, he was in that. That's what he was most known for before Daredevil, was being in Boardwalk Empire.
I saw him in The Theory of Everything first.
Theory of Everything came out after Daredevil.
Yeah, but I didn't remember. It took me a while for me to get into the first season of Daredevil.
Oh,
I
that's
tried.
right.
Yeah, like even
You were a weirdo about it.
Well, because I even tried getting into it, and I watched maybe 15 minutes of like the first episode of the first season, and it wasn't really about it. It just didn't resonate.
You watched
with me.
that confession scene and it didn't hook you immediately?
Dude, it's probably going to be like it's like what Firefly is to me right now. Like that's where I was at Daredevil at the time,
Daredevil
Again,
and Firefly are very different.
They're very different, but I'm saying like how it resonated with me. It didn't resonate with me. I might have to revisit it.
You need to get over
now
yourself.
I fucking absolutely love Daredevil.
Yeah. Next actor I have is avid Dungeons and Dragons player Deborah Ann Wool as Karen Page. Really, the only thing people I think know her from is True Blood, outside of Daredevil. I don't think she's done much else of note.
You know how much True Blood I've seen?
None? Yeah, me neither.
0.
Me neither. Isn't True Blood an HBO show? Or wasn't True Blood an HBO show? I feel like I haven't seen most HBO shows because you have to have HBO. But I find ways to watch Game of Thrones. Make it happen. The next...
Legally.
Ching! I have friends with HBO. Duh. Eldon Henson as Franklin Foggy Nelson. You may know him from movies 3 and 4 from the Hunger Games series, Mockingjay Parts 1 and 2. He was in Deja Vu, and this dude's been acting since he was a kid. He was in The Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3. I did not know that.
He was also in She's All That. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Fucking like classic 90s movie.
He's been around, which is weird because he is consistently the least accomplished actor in the show.
Least accomplished or
accomplished is the wrong word. He's the least good. He's the least good.
He's the shittiest actor in the show, which
the bar is high. The bar
is very high, and it's taking over the top to call him a shitty actor. But
no, that's why I didn't want to say he's the worst. I wanted to say he's the least good. But he is the worst.
But I would say at his best, it's pretty average.
All right. Let's see. Next, I've got a character newly introduced for season 3. We've got 2 of them. One of them is kind of our alternate lead, and it's Jay Ali as the character Ray Nadeem. He really isn't from much of anything. He had runs on The Fosters in a show called Significant Mother, which is a fun little wordplay title for a show, but never seen either.
Yeah, he's done like a lot of TV work. And stuff,
yeah, he's been like, random person in like NCIS and CS, all those kinds of things. Same with the
Rizzoli and Isles.
Yeah, same with the next actor, Wilson Bethel, who plays Ben Poindexter, aka Dex, and never called this, but he is from the comics, the character Bullseye.
Did they ever actually say? They never say Bullseye.
Nope, they never say Bullseye. They don't do anything till that final scene where his eyes are like a bullseye.
Right.
There's literally nothing. Wait, I take that back. When he was a kid playing baseball,
the
logo on the hat was a bullseye. Yeah. He was in Heart of Dixie and How to Get Away with Murder. Those are like his longest runs on shows, it looked like. But like Jay Ali, he's been one-stop shop in a bunch of shows. And the final main cast, as the opening credits of Daredevil do, save him for last. It is Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk. As he is credited.
Is it Vincent D'Onofrio?
D'Onofrio.
Or is it D'Onofrio?
It could be either. I don't know.
I always say D'Onofrio.
It might be right, but
he's the most recognizable
The
face.
apostrophe makes me think there's a D'Onofrio. There's a thing there. Otherwise, why would there be an apostrophe?
But like Crystalia is just Crystalia.
That's true.
It's not Chris D'Elia.
D'Elia or something. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It
might
be D'Onofrio. He
is the most recognizable.
He's in a lot of stuff. He was in Men of Black. He was in Full Metal Jacket. He was in Jurassic World, kind of the most recent movie he was in.
Most notably, he's Gomer Pyle in Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. That's his most iconic role.
Godly in this show. He's so incredible. Him and Charlie Cox, I think, are just so crazy good.
All right, on 3, we're both going to pick an adjective to describe Wilson Fisk in the show.
Okay.
Ready? Menacing. Gravitas?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
He's very menacing.
I said
though.
menacing, yeah. I'd say we're both right. We're both right.
Those are the main cast. We've got a couple supporting actors that I basically wanted to shout out because I thought of, they're not in the show as much and not as important to the show, but they're so good. The first one has been in since scene 1 of episode 1, and that is Peter McRobbie as Father Lantum. This dude kills me every time he's on screen. He's so good.
By the way, Peter McRobbie sounds like a straight up made up name.
Yeah, it
like
does.
something.
Yeah,
my name's Peter
McRobbie.
McRobbie.
McSteve. He was in Bridge of Spies recently, the Tom Hanks movie. He was in Lincoln, and he had a role in Brokeback Mountain, and he's been acting forever. He's been around. The next one, I might butcher the pronouncing here. Joanne Whalley, Whaley, Whaley.
Wally.
She plays Sister Maggie, and because this is a spoiler episode, we can say Matt Murdock's mom.
Oh.
She was in Willow, and I thought you would really like this. She was in Pink Floyd's The Wall.
She's in Pink Floyd's The Wall?
She played like a groupie or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I just thought you'd like that.
That movie's so like. The movie's so bizarre, like it's hard to keep up with like singular characters other than like sort of the main focus.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's like I think one of the main characters in Willow. She's high up on the billing. And the last one is Jeffrey Cantor as Mitchell Ellison, the newspaper editor at the Bulletin. He was in Hail Caesar, and the dude has an in at Netflix. He was in House of Cards. He's in the new show Maniac. Jeffrey
Tambor is the guy from Arrested Development,
Yeah.
right? And that's Jeffrey Cantor.
Cantor, yeah.
It's close.
But this guy spells his name with a G.
Oh, okay.
Jeffrey with a G.
That changes everything.
It changes literally everything. Everything. How do you want to do this? Because there's a lot to dig into in this show. I think off the top, we should say this show is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I tweeted this the other night after we finished watching. I think that Daredevil is the pinnacle of television adaptations of anything superhero or comic book related. I think it's the best thing on TV. And you could push me to call it the best in general. The Dark Knight would probably still win.
Oh, you mean out of TV or movies?
You could push me.
Wow.
You could push me. It would definitely be a top 5 adaptation to me. But you also have to approach it like the MCU as a whole would be above Daredevil, I think. You know what I mean?
Okay.
As a whole, the MCU is better, and I think there's probably specific movies that are maybe better. I don't know. I think Daredevil is so suited for what I want from a comic book adaptation that I think I might prefer it over any Marvel movie. Even though I love almost all the Marvel movies, there's only a few that I don't.
You mean any Marvel movie in
MCU movie? By itself.
By itself,
but
individually, but the entirety of it.
The scale of what it
the
is.
The gestalt of
yeah,
it
sure.
is very...
And something that hurts Daredevil is the semi-failure of the attempt to do the same thing on a television scale with the Defenders is nowhere near as well done as it is in the MCU. I still think I would probably say The Dark Knight is the best adaptation of a superhero character ever in film or television. But Daredevil's up there for me.
Superhero or comic book character,
yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, for me personally.
I tried to think of, because when you tweeted that, I tried to think of other things that were television adaptations of superhero or comic book material that I would even try to compare
Yeah.
it to. And as far as quality.
Yeah.
And I would say I fucking love the Spawn animated series.
Yep.
But it's hard to track down. Fucking, and it got canceled after one season.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a lot of similarities to Daredevil as far as like tone. The sound in both shows are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them have sort of noirish undertones to it.
Yeah.
But still, Daredevil's fucking incredible.
Yeah, it's so good. The only negative thing I've ever seen, that I've taken with any grain of acceptance, you'll see people complain about random stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People will be like, Karen looks weird. And I'm like, get out of here. I don't care about what you have to say. I literally saw someone say she cries too much. I saw a review for the episode Karen, which I think was episode 10 of this season. And it literally said 1 out of 10, Karen cries too much.
So the flashback,
the episode where it was all flashback to her origin.
I was really hesitant with that episode because of what happened with Stranger Things 2.
Yeah,
I thought it was
so out of what the show is, right?
And what the show was already, like as far as just the story that they were telling at that time. And for them to go out of their way with this flashback, I was kind of worried because I thought it was going to be like that episode with 11 where she goes to Chicago or whatever, and
it's just
she
weird.
becomes
It's
a punk, and it's just so out of place, and it's like, oh, this is just very spin-offy, and I don't enjoy this, and it's fucking incredible.
It's amazing.
This episode
Deborah Ann
was
Woll
incredible.
Kills it in that episode.
Her performance in that episode.
And her dad. I don't know who played her dad. He's just, I recognize him when I
all
see
of them.
him.
The dad, the brother, the boyfriend that she has that sells
good.
drugs. All of them are
They're
really
all
good. There's a scene where she's basically saying goodbye to her dad, and her dad is
kicking her out of his life.
After
they're sitting at the diner table,
accidentally killed her brother in a car accident. Her dad tells her, all right, the cop, because it's a really small town, and the cop is basically saying like, no, he was driving or whatever, right?
Basically
they became upon an agreement so to keep Karen out of trouble and out of jail,
but he wanted her to leave in return.
It was like almost like it was a last straw kind of thing. Like he was like, you have to leave.
We saw in a few episodes previous when Karen was afraid for her life and was thinking about running from New York. She called her dad 12 years later or something like that, I think it is. And he still was like, don't come here. You can call whenever you want, but don't come here. Crazy.
Yeah, she was going through like a lot of shit in her life, and like
I was really interested in. So the build up to Karen being this reveal of Karen as a character has been since season 1, because anyone who knows the source material knows this part of her character. She is in the comics. She goes through being a drug addict. She goes through being a prostitute. She's a heroin addict, I think, in the comics. And a big build up in this season specifically, she is killed by Bullseye in a church. In the comics. So that scene where Father Lantom is killed, because he jumps in front of is it a baton? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
The baton, and takes it for her, and he dies. In the comics, she dies in that scenario. It's pretty crazy.
I really enjoyed her performance. So there are, as good as the show is, there are cons.
Yeah, certainly.
So like I'll start there. My cons, as far as like why it doesn't resonate with me, we already sort of touched on it.
Yeah, I wrote one down specifically. Nadim's wife.
Okay, there's that.
Oh, touch
we'll
on
get
it
to
in the
that.
episode.
So on this Foggy Nelson, I'm not a big fan of Eldon Hanson's portrayal of Foggy Nelson. It's just
it's kind of weird. I literally put down in my notes Eldon Hanson improvement.
I would say it is improved from the first season. He's
definitely better.
That it doesn't pull me out of the show as much. But
he also
I
think he's given more to do.
You mean like his character? It has more importance within the role of everything.
And he just has his own stuff that he's pursuing by himself. Right. He's not just Matt's friend. He's not just Matt's coworker.
No, he's
his own person.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say, yeah, Nadim's wife is.
So I specifically put down Ray Nadim's wife bothered me because I wrote this down. Nadim's wife's lack of perspective as a character trumped the dramatic situation they tried to create for Nadim. They tried to create tension with him wanting to protect his family and the stresses he was feeling from it, but the way that she kept reacting to it as if she didn't realize he was in the FBI and his life was dangerous.
Not only dangerous, but like it's almost like there's a necessity when you're an FBI agent that you're going to have to be dishonest sometimes with your wife.
Yeah.
I would. So I want to specify this. I don't think the problems are with the performance. I think
no,
the performance
certainly
was
not
fine.
with the performance.
It was like it was just a very one note character, and I would say it's a one note character until it gets to the point where
when she goes back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where she goes back and she goes into the FBI office.
But she only does it because Nadim sent her that video.
But she had the courage to do it.
It was very hard to do. It was very hard to do.
Even though she was like really upset, and her husband
going there
died
was
already.
Dangerous.
She could have fucking died,
Yeah,
and she still had her son.
Yeah.
The fact that was a redeeming moment
that's true.
for her.
That's definitely true.
I
think there's a trope in storytelling in general, but I think specifically in superhero sort of shows where there's a nagging wife, and that's all they ever are, and it's just weak writing, right? They make the character be opposed to what our main character is doing just to have some sort of
home life
tension.
conflict.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's a lot of times if it comes from a natural and organic place, then it's fine. But a lot of times it's shoehorned into.
Which
the
in this
narrative.
show they have the complete opposite with Fisk and Vanessa. Vanessa's the most down person ever for badness.
But it was also that's an example of a very organic storyline that stems from that character and the conflict that was coming from. That was between them, the tension that was between them came from a real place, and it was believable and authentic. And not only was she like kind and nurturing, but also batshit crazy
she's nuts. She's
and
completely
powerful and smart
She's
and
a badass.
terrifying and fucking menacing.
Perfect fit for Fisk.
Yeah,
Perfect.
absolutely, and it crazy compelling. We were joking around that we want to see a romantic comedy, just starring Wilson Fisk. I really liked the interplay between them,
and they made us wait for it too. I think it was not until episode 11 or 12 where she came back. What other negatives do you have?
Okay, so one specific shit that pissed me off, like I would say this is probably the biggest thing that annoyed me, like where I was just like taken out of the scene. The flashback, Bullseye's flashback, where Wilson Fisk is looking through his files and it plays like literally it's as if the scene is playing out.
I thought that was really cool.
Okay, here's my thing. Before that happened, like I looked at you and I said, I really want to see some Bullseye backstory. I want to know who he is.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I liked figuring out who Bullseye was. I just don't think it was executed well.
You didn't like the way they did that?
Specifically, there was like 15 seconds, the 15 seconds where they were talking about the baseball game.
Yeah.
Right? And young Dex is getting pulled out of this Little League game.
Yeah.
And he's like he's just fucking...
He's mad. He's throwing a no-hitter.
No, but he's throwing a no-hitter and he's fucking pitching really well and shit, right? And the coach comes up to him and he's like, all right, we're going to have to pull you out. And he's like, no, why are you pulling me out? And he's like, well, maybe if I
throw a perfect game, my parents will come back.
Perfect game, my. And then the coach is like, Dex, no matter what you do, it's never going to bring your parents back. And to me, it was really ham-handed. I didn't like that scene. It was like, for me, it resonated like it felt like a student film. Like that was like the only part of that entire season where I was like,
this also needs to be pointed out.
This is bad.
That scene was long. The flashback sequence was almost half an episode.
And a majority of it, I didn't mind.
Loved the way they formatted it, I guess you could say. The way how
It was cool. That was
Fisk
cool.
was there watching it. In reality, he was listening to the tapes and reading the documents about his past. But the way they showed it, the way he was like watching, and they're doing small sets within the set of the apartment Fisk lives in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was awesome, and I was so drawn into that bothered you. I didn't even think about it.
Like
I completely
literally,
accepted
I'm nitpicking. You know, I'm
Yeah.
This show is so good that I literally have to try.
You have
and
to
find
raise the
things
standards
that
that
annoyed
you're
me. But
yeah.
like, I rolled the fuck out of my eyes when I saw that moment.
Really?
That little exchange between them, because I was like, that is a fucking bad student film. I was like, but maybe if
Specifically,
I throw a perfect
the kid
game,
thinking that, or
my Dex, no matter what you do, it will never bring your parents back. Like, that's something that fucking you would see being made fun of in like a parody movie. You know what I mean? Like you would see that in like Dewey Cox. Like I was like, that is so.
I didn't even think about it when I saw it.
Hilariously
It didn't bother
bad.
me at all.
Yeah, it was literally just that tiny exchange.
Yeah, that's like one
That
bit of
tiny-
dialogue. In,
it wasn't
like
even-
I said, like a 30-minute scene.
It wasn't even the entire flashback.
No.
I mean, because I would say a majority of that episode was that flashback,
Yeah,
right?
it was literally half the episode.
Mm-hmm. And like what you brought up with formatting it and everything like that. How it like the scenes were actually playing out in his hotel room. I thought it was really fucking cool. I thought it was really creative.
Yeah, it was
but
very
it was
interesting.
that specific moment that
Is a
fucking
very specific
two
nitpick.
lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
It bothered the shit out of me
All right.
in an otherwise incredible
Yeah.
fucking season of Daredevil.
Leaning into that scene, the stuff with his therapist is amazing. When he's a kid and the therapist trying to help him, I thought that stuff was really good. And then the way they kept calling back to her teaching him empathy, where he would say, "That sounds hard, really hard." They kept going back to that. Oh, there's
I like
a scene right before he kills Nadeem where he says it, and I was like,
Yeah, it's
So good.
it's really fucking disturbing.
oh yeah,
Especially because they sort of hook you into him being really charismatic in the beginning of the show too.
Yep.
The first time that he starts talking about Julie,
Yep.
you're fucking sunk in. He literally starts talking about this for people that haven't watched
because he's
Daredevil.
talking to the therapist of the FBI. Yeah.
But for those of you that haven't watched Daredevil, he starts talking to this therapist that's involved with the FBI, and this
He is an
therapist
FBI agent.
Yeah, this character Dex is an FBI agent, and he's being evaluated by a psychologist to determine whether or not he is suited for duty.
Yeah.
And this guy wonders, do
you have someone?
Like, do you have someone? And Dex starts talking about this girl Julie and how
Makes it seem like it's his girlfriend.
and he said that like every
They have dinner
day
every night.
on Tuesday they go to this pizza place and eat broccoli on pizza.
Ugh, that's the worst part of this show.
That's the worst
Someone eats
part
broccoli
by
on pizza.
far. But fucking fast forward.
Turns out he just stalks her.
He's literally just stalking a girl and watching, and it's a girl that he kind of has a previous relationship with,
And then it's even further revealed that he's not stalking her because he
because
wants
he's
to
sexually
be with
attracted
her
to
or he's
her.
attracted to her. She is his North Star, which is another
Yeah.
callback to the therapist, telling him that he needs a North Star to keep his psychotic tendencies in line.
He's enamored with her morality.
Yeah. Specifically,
anything.
he says
Yeah.
that you are like a good person, and I
Yeah.
need that. Yeah. And then Wilson Fisk does some genius level evilness and gets her killed so that he can become the new North. Oh, dude, Wilson Fisk is so good.
It is so fucking gripping, the conflict in this show, because it's I feel like it's so authentic and it's so hopeless at times, but like not in like a Walking Dead kind of way where you're like it. I still have like a glimmer of it, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, how the fuck is this going to turn out?
How are they
better?
going to win?
Yeah,
How are they going to beat him? He's so smart. He's so far ahead of them all the time. Everything that they do that you think might work backfires every time. He's such a good character. Oh, and he's so well acted. Oh man, he's so good.
Do you feel like season 3 or Daredevil in general is tediously slow?
I don't personally, but I've seen people think that it's slow.
So the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes literally says that. It says that the beginning of season 3 starts off tediously slow. That's why they said those specific words.
Why? I think, okay, so part of it I think is if you in any way are not, 100% drawn into the characters, you might think that. It's almost like Game of Thrones where you need to be ready and willing to sit through 10-minute scenes of dialogue and just character exposition. And that's part of the show. And in my opinion, part of what makes the show great is because the characters are so good and so deeply well thought out.
Yeah, I'm not impartial to partially slow things.
Yeah.
Usually when I hear like the casual moviegoer say like, oh, that movie was too slow for me or it was too depressing, I'm like, I might really
like that, yeah.
Like the number one problem that people have with Manchester by the Sea is that it's too depressing.
Dude, that movie's amazing.
And I fucking
that movie's amazing.
It.
Yeah, that movie's fantastic.
So I think that that might also just come from us as like we're more accepting of more deliberate narratives.
Certainly.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I was just like.
But then the thing is,
that was for sure not one of my.
I always get weirded out when people say things are slow. So do they basically mean the plot isn't advancing fast enough, or do they mean that there's not enough action?
Because there's plenty of action.
The action,
and
that's the other thing that makes Daredevil probably puts it over the top of any other superhero show, especially
is how well choreographed everything is.
The fight choreography and the execution of the fight choreography is so above and beyond anything else out there. And we would be remiss to not mention their 11.5-minute oneer scene they did this season. So Daredevil, it's kind of a meme at this point, the hallway scene. Because in season 1, there is a scene where Matt goes in to save a kid, and there's a hallway fight scene that they did in one take. And it's probably like 3 or 4 minutes long, maybe 5 minutes. It's a long fight scene they did one take, and they're using tricks. He's going in and out of doors that you don't see into, and they're switching between Charlie Cox and the stunt double. They're using tricks of the trade to execute the scene. And then season 2, they did the stairwell. They did the same thing, but they did it in a stairwell. So it became a meme where it was like, what's going to be the hallway fight scene? And then in Defenders, they did another hallway scene with the whole group and all this stuff. In this one, they did a 11.5-minute oneer that was half of a combat scene and half a dramatic scene.
What do you mean half dramatic? What do you mean?
Half of the scene was him talking to the mob guy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Half the oneer was him convincing this guy to give him the information he needed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying.
It wasn't all combat.
Yeah, like there was like exposition and him actually trying to get information out of someone, and fucking like there was dialogue mixed in. It was like half action, half dialogue scene.
Yeah.
All mixed in this
11.5 minutes. And
it's insane.
Moves through a set of probably at least 5 different rooms, I would guess.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Guys, if you are a fan of any kind of kung fu movie, martial arts
movies,
anything like that, and you are listening, watching to this, and have not seen Daredevil, watch Daredevil all 3 seasons, because there are some of the most incredible fight scenes I have ever seen. Like if you are a fan of Ip Man, Raid of Redemption, this is right up there. As far as how well done the fight choreography is and how well they capture it.
And I would also say that the realism of the fighting, at least half the time that Daredevil or Matt Murdock is fighting someone, he's like stumbling around and falling over and he's exhausted, and they do character development through the way he fights. He fights in this, his fighting style is thought out to the point of who is Matt Murdock as a man. He fights like this. He obviously has all this extensive training, but in the end, when he gets down to his most desperate, he goes back to being like his dad and a boxer. It's just so fascinating.
He starts brawling. Yeah.
He starts brawling when he gets his most desperate, just like his dad did.
Right.
It's so deep, the level of the action, treating it like narrative. It's amazing. And then you see Netflix Marvel shows will make the show that should be the best martial arts in Iron Fist, and it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just hire the same fight choreographer?
He's probably busy.
Yeah, that's true.
He's
He
too good.
Probably puts a lot of time into Daredevil and whatever else he's working on.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. So I wrote down, as we were watching this, I was just constantly taking notes on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally, for the most part, just put, like, this scene was great. And in hindsight, I'm like, wait, I don't even remember exactly what happened. Like, I literally wrote the I Am Job scene, which was early on, where I just thought, Charlie, there was a scene where Matt Murdock related himself to the character Job from the Bible.
Dude, I have a problem with like religious tropes within narrative.
You didn't
because
like that scene?
I didn't like it as much. But I've also seen shit like that in other stuff. Like the movie A Serious Man is literally just a retelling of Job, and South Park went through a whole Job episode. Yeah, but so like I was just kind of
I've
like,
never seen
I've
any of those. So
you've
to
never,
me, it was totally unique. I'd never seen any.
You've never seen anything
I
that
couldn't
ever
even.
referenced.
If you had
Job
asked me before watching that episode, who is Job, I would have been like, I went to Catholic school for 9 years. Job is from the Bible. That's all I would have known.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't remember.
I feel like I've heard that story so many times.
I could not remember the specifics of Job as a character. But I thought that scene was really cool.
And like I've never even read it from the Bible. It's literally only from other things that have referenced that thing.
The next one I wrote was the Love is a Prison scene, which was when Fisk was being moved to the hotel. And it made me think of the end of season 1 when he gave the another Bible scene, when the end of season 1 when he's being brought into prison, and he does, I'm trying to remember specifically what the line is. I am the ill intent, he says, because he tells a story of the Good Samaritan, I think, right?
Maybe I don't.
But there's a very he says, I am the ill intent, and then everything explodes and he has his escape. And this one he does another like monologue in the back of a police vehicle, and I was like he's gonna escape again. He's doing it again, and he tells a story about how his love for Vanessa is why he's willing to cooperate with the FBI. And he says love is a prison. And I was like, this dude is so deep. He's like, love is a prison, and it's a prison I will never escape because I don't even want to. And I was like, this dude, Wilson Fisk is the most romantic character ever. Here's a big one. The first time that Matt's subconscious comes in the form of Fisk in the scene. Matt's thoughts become Wilson Fisk on screen, and it's Fisk telling Matt all the things that Matt thinks about himself that are bad, basically. That scene killed me because, like I said, I went to Catholic school for 9 years. Catholic guilt is a very real thing. And that scene might be one of the best representations.
Do you know
of
that Charlie
I've ever
Cox
seen.
is Catholic?
Charlie Cox is also Catholic?
Yeah.
That's really cool. No wonder
I didn't know that.
No wonder he's so good at it, at playing the sort of conflicted and...
I'm not sure if he's still Catholic or if he was just raised Catholic. But
yeah, he's so amazing at capturing it. I took some pretty good. I took notes here. I said, Matt hallucinating Fisk is the perfect example of Catholic guilt. He feels that God freed Fisk as punishment for him because he tried to let those thugs kill him in the previous episode. I don't know if you remember that. At the end, I think, of episode 2, Matt goes out to try to fight some guys, and he basically puts himself at their mercy.
Right.
Wanting to die because he feels like if he can't, because at this point he's deaf in one ear and on top of being blind, it's ruined his senses. And he feels like if he can't be Daredevil, that he can't live at this point. So he tries to basically go out being Daredevil, not at full strength, and then tries to die, tries to let them kill him. And to me, I don't know if this was the intention, but the way I interpreted this scene with Fisk showing up was that right after this, the next day, Fisk is freed. And Matt believes in his heart that it happened because he tried to basically commit suicide. Because in Catholicism, if you kill yourself, you go straight to hell.
Right.
So Matt feels like because of his sins, God has freed Fisk to punish him.
And he even kind of brings that up. He says that once he gets his hearing back, the first thing that he hears is that
he does the snap.
That Fisk is being freed from prison.
Yeah, and it's as if it also speaks to his ego in a way, because he fully believes
It's a narcissistic thing to think that like you are being
that his
punished
sins
by God.
impact the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Yeah, and the way Fisk sort of is presented in his mind is that a side of Matt thinks that Fisk can actually help people more than he can, which is because half of Fisk's deal is the presentation of being a philanthropist. Mm-hmm. So Matt's kind
of... The fact that he's helping out the FBI catch all of these overlords of crime.
Yeah.
But really, he's just removing his own competition.
And on top of all of it, it's just his guilt for feeling responsible for not killing him in the first place. Mm-hmm. So which a big part of this season is him trying to make the decision of whether or not to kill him again. And then he comes back again later, in a later episode, and his subconscious takes two forms. And it's Fisk, and then it takes the form of his father, speaking to another side of Matt as a character. And I thought all of that was just...
And there was the one scene where they literally coincided with each
voices.
other.
Oh, it was so cool.
As soon as... So, like, he's having this subconscious conversation with his dad. And the way that they shot it, like, his dad goes out of frame. Yeah. And then you hear the voices kind of match up. Both Wilson Fisk's voice as well as...
They say the same line of dialogue.
Matt's dad.
And it ends Jack's...
And as it pans back out, you see Wilson Fisk.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, man. What else did I put on here that we haven't talked about yet? We talked about Karen. We talked about Ellen Henson. We talked about Poindexter's flashback scene. Oh, the scene where Nadeem goes to his superiors with the information that Fisk might be using the FBI.
Yeah.
Were you expecting any of that?
No.
No, that was a stinger for the episode, it was an amazing stinger. And then his immediate superior, I think her name is Tammy, shot her boss through the throat and then through the head. Mm-hmm. And it was like, dude, that was like a moment of...
And then she tells Nadeem,
you work for Fisk now.
And he's our boss.
It was just like... More, you talked about dread earlier. Like, how can you beat this guy? He's everywhere and everything.
Right.
Oh, it just made him even more terrifying.
Just that, like, that ultimate hopelessness. It fucking was so gripping throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I've got two more on here. I put, I thought was really interesting because we haven't even talked about Maggie yet. Maggie, this whole time, is a nun at the church who is Matt's mom, but he doesn't know that. I thought the flashback was so interesting because she explained it. She just said kind of a throwaway line. She was like, they didn't know what postpartum was back then.
Right.
And it's another example of Catholic guilt. Mm-hmm. She thought because she hadn't even taken her oaths as being a nun yet. She was not a nun yet. She stopped going to nun school. I don't know what it's called. She stopped going to be a nun and had a baby with Jack. Mm-hmm. And she felt like her punishment for it was this depression that she was sent into because she had postpartum depression. They didn't know what it was back then. So it was like, I thought it was an interesting, because in my head I was like, how are they going to explain away her leaving her baby and make us not just hate her for being a horrible person? And I thought it was pretty well done.
It was pretty well done, but it also wasn't, they didn't try to paint her as like this incredible person.
No, not at all.
It was very conflicted.
And that scene killed me because it's literally, you see a couple times Jack having to take care of the baby when he's crying, and she's just sitting there, clearly depressed. And then the two nuns that were her friends show up, and Father Lantom, and they pull her out of the room, and then Father just looks at Jack and can't say anything. There's no words. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't offer to help. He just can't say anything. And Jack is just like defeated looking. And then obviously we know from there what happened, because we know Matt was really close to his dad and the hard life that they lived and the type of person Jack was. Last one I put was just eulogy. I loved that they threw in the Man Without Fear line in that eulogy.
Yeah, it was cool.
I loved it.
As soon as he started saying fear...
Yeah, you literally said it along with him.
Yeah, like as soon as he said fear like twice within like a 10-second span, I was like, he's about to say Man Without Fear.
But that is Daredevil. I thought it was awesome.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
That's how you don't do What Are We, Some Kind of Suicide Squad. You do it like
It's a better way to do it. It's a better way to do it. Like, it wasn't... there's a way to do it where it's not fucking ham-fisted.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this up. Did it bother you like any of the bullseye stuff? Did any of that
Him
bother
being
you?
good at throwing things?
Yeah.
I think I said it once when we were watching. I was like, if he wasn't so scary, this would be funny because he was throwing forks at people.
Yeah. Like
But it
forks and pens. And
You know what I loved about it? They literally never explained it. No one ever said anything about it. No one ever explained how he got. He literally, as a kid, he threw a baseball and ricocheted off a thing and killed his coach. Mm-hmm. He's always just been able to throw things.
Yeah, from the very inception, like the earliest that we see his character chronologically wise is him throwing a baseball against a wall,
In the
and he's
same
hitting
exact
the
spot.
same exact spot over and over
To where
again
he
until it
makes a
literally
hole in the wall.
crumbles that wall. Yeah.
I like that. And because I knew, maybe. Oh, jeez.
I like their approach to not really explaining.
I think it's maybe just because I know who
could've-
Bullseye is as a character, and I was like, I totally accepted it. Did it bother you ever?
No, there was certain times where I was like, "This is like this close to being really silly," you know. Like there's.
It could be if not done well.
Yeah,
And if he wasn't-
and it was done well. Like Bullseye is a silly character.
goofy.
The idea that like he could just pick anything up and
I
then
could kill you with this.
Yeah,
I could kill you with this.
Yeah,
I could kill you. Like anything he picks
Like,
up.
anything he picks up, he can throw like just perfectly
And ricochet
yeah.
off different walls.
It
I
can
thought
be
the
really
first time
silly.
that they fought each other was awesome in the
office?
of the bulletin, and he was throwing like staplers and scissors and
Right.
just any office pencils, like anything he could find. And I was like, you kind of think this could be Goofy if he wasn't so scary.
But I wouldn't say like so on the spectrum of Goofy. I wouldn't say that it's 0% Goofy.
No, it definitely has
It's like
goof to it.
It's
But-
like you're almost to the line where like I'm going to laugh at this.
But in the end, it is a comic book adaptation, and I think
It's fun. It was fun as shit.
And I brought this up to you the other night. I forget what I was even looking at, but I saw a comment online, I think it was on Reddit, of somebody basically saying, I don't like when superhero shows take themselves too seriously. And the first thing I said to you when I was reading this, I was like, I feel like Daredevil takes itself completely and fully seriously.
But it depends on the source material. It depends on the character. It depends on even individual characters within that narrative.
Yeah.
You know, how are you approaching those
But
characters?
like that's what I'm getting at is that being said, just because Daredevil takes itself completely seriously and from the outside looking in is a completely bananas idea. A blind dude that goes and fights people and his enemy is a dude that can kill you with a pencil from 100 yards away. It's silly.
It's ridiculous. That
Yeah.
idea is ridiculous. That's
It's
why
ridiculous.
That's why when we argue about The Purge and you say like, "Oh, that's such a ridiculous idea." Like
I just
why
can't.
why would you do that? Like that is my thing. I always bring up Batman whenever we have that example because like Batman is just as much of a ridiculous idea.
My problem
but
with The Purge.
It's been executed really well. And that we've talked about that before. Like you sort of like need precedent for something to be executed well in order for you to be hype about it. Or
yeah,
enjoy it
just
or
because of like
whatever.
the Venom conversation. The Purge just. How could a government let that happen? It's so dumb.
It's a bad
so
idea.
stupid.
It's a
It's
bad
so
idea.
stupid.
But it is fucking really interesting. Rick and Morty did it fucking amazingly well.
If you accept it, if you can get behind the curtain and just, which is crazy. I'm normally the most down person for suspension of disbelief. I am the easiest person to suspend my disbelief for. I'm very hard to pull out of things.
Right.
But for some reason, The Purge, I just can't. I just can't do it. It's just so stupid to me. But yeah, I think while Daredevil takes itself super seriously, which I brought up before, steeping things in realism more than Daredevil. Sure, Daredevil has darkness to the show, but it's more steeped in realism than it is dark.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the thing that they do a great job is just because they take themselves seriously doesn't mean there aren't moments of levity. And there's
moments of levity,
kind of over the top silliness a little bit in things like Bullseye.
but like also, what do people mean when they say dark?
Yeah.
You know, like are you talking about the physical things that you're seeing? Are you talking about the aesthetics of the show? Because Daredevil is dark and
Darkly shot, yeah.
But
There's a
it's
lot of
not
red, too.
morally dark.
No,
it's
certainly
not. It's
not.
not cynical.
No, it's morally bright.
No, it's very like
Matt is a beacon of goodness.
but it's also it doesn't deal with morality and everything. It's not completely exclusive to complexity.
No, I mean,
and
I think
immoralism.
I think about the amazing scene in season 2 with the Punisher in the graveyard. That scene's 15 minutes long of them just talking to each other about morality and the right
both
way.
sides are compelling.
And the right way to be a hero or a vigilante, and where's the line.
Yeah.
And both sides are compelling and well argued and well thought out and could be taken as right.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Whew, show's so good.
Yeah, but it.
And then this season does it again with Matt juggling with whether or not to kill Fisk.
Right.
That's the big moral question of the season is Matt going to make the decision in the moment? Because he makes the decision beforehand where he says he's going to do it, but in the moment, is he going to do it? Mm-hmm. And that's the big moral question. I thought we were kind of confused watching that final scene because he kept saving him from Bullseye. Because he basically...
Even though he tried to get Bullseye...
He tricked Bullseye, or not tricked, he showed Bullseye the truth to get Bullseye to go to attack Fisk.
But even persuaded Bullseye and sort of like winked him like, oh, this guy doesn't deserve happiness, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah, he's getting married, wink, wink. And then he kind of just used him as a battering ram to get into the wedding.
Yeah. He used him as a tool.
Yeah, and then when Bullseye got there and tried to kill Fisk, Matt saved him. And we were like, wait, what? Why did he do that? And then we find out as the scene goes on, which I think this scene was much better done as a fight scene between Fisk and Daredevil.
Yes.
Much better done than season 1's finale was.
This is so the final episode of season 3 is the best final episode of
for sure
all of
all 3 seasons. Yeah, absolutely. And that it's like a 3-way fight almost. And he keeps saving Fisk, and then we find out that he's kind of come up with this. Is loophole the right word? I don't know if it's a loop. He basically figured out how to get Fisk back in jail the way he wants him. And he basically threatens his wife, Vanessa, because he found out the information.
And not even threatening her with death, but threatening her
and I'm super fascinated to see. Hopefully this gets renewed for season 4. We don't know what the way Netflix is treating their Marvel shows right now. But I'm super fascinated to see how Fisk handles it. Because he's going to feel, I have to think because of how well thought out the character is, he's going to be guilty. Because the whole time he's known Vanessa, he's been secretive. He hasn't shown her his business. Mm-hmm. And then he finally lets her in because she wants in, and he's into it. And then she makes the call to have someone killed, and Matt finds that out, and that's the smoking gun. So is Fisk going to feel like, if I had just kept her out of it, I could have kept her safe, and I could, he would have had to kill me, or I could have killed him situation. Mm-hmm. I'm super interested in that. And on top of that, now he knows who Matt is and who Matt loves, which is a classic Daredevil thing from the comics, is Fisk knowing Matt's secrets. Right.
So you just brought up the status of Disney and Marvel, and Disney starting up a streaming service and stuff like that. Is there any news as far as like where that's going to go? I know that.
So I want to. We're recording this episode, and we're recording our other episode next, and I actually want to get into that like a lot in that episode.
Okay.
So it's funny because you'll see this episode after that episode,
right?
But we will have talked about it.
Okay.
Because I did a bunch of researchy kind of stuff on it, so we'll talk about that. Yeah. Do you have any more thoughts on Daredevil as a whole, or season 3 specifically?
Nope. It's really good.
It's really good. I think it's the best season so far.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Which, opposite trend of other Marvel shows.
Yeah.
The only other Marvel show that does that, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Better every season.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. It gets better every season. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is awesome. Very different than this show, but awesome. A lot of fun. So, yeah, I think that's it then.
Dope.
Come back next week. We will be doing a little bit of a throwback to last year. We're going to talk about Lady Bird for a spoiler episode next week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which you've never seen.
I have not seen Lady Bird. Right. And it's like a coming-of-age movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know how it... Mm-hmm. You know what happened? All the movies that were nominated for like Oscars and stuff last year came out right before I got MoviePass, so I wasn't going to the movies as much.
Right.
And then I got MoviePass, and it was after all of them left the movie theaters. Mm-hmm. And obviously now MoviePass is trash.
Right. Last year was the first year that I watched every single Oscar nominee.
You try to do that the last few years.
But it's really fucking hard, especially
it's
when
hard
you're
to
on the East Coast.
Find certain things.
Well, like if you're not near LA or New York or huge cities like that, good luck trying to track down the documentary shorts.
Yeah. It's just hard.
They don't play them anywhere. You have to go see them in a theater that's actually airing them. So like last year, or last Oscar season,
right after you moved out here, I was able to.
I was like, I moved out here, and then I was able to drive to LA and go see a majority of the things that I normally wouldn't be able to see.
Are you going to do that again?
Now that I've already done it, I'm going to be like less, like I'm going to add them onto my huge list of movies that I have to watch and stuff like that. Like I'll continually add nominees and stuff on. But
that's a lot of work.
Literally, I'll definitely watch all the Best Pictures.
Yeah, certainly.
Best Picture nominees.
And I'm sure when the time comes, we'll do some kind of Oscar themed episode or something like that. We'll do something. We'll figure something out as it gets. We're not far. It's only a couple months away, but we'll figure something out then for the Chris and Kyle show. So he's Chris. Find him chrismichaelstott.com, Chris Michael Stott on Instagram. I'm Kyle, Davinwell25 on all socials, mostly Twitter. Look forward to the poll. When this releases, the poll will be out for November's spoiler episode that you guys are going to pick for us. We got 2 sequels that are coming out this month that we're going to throw up for you guys. Creed 2 or Ralph Breaks the Internet, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, The Crimes of Grindelwald, Wreck-It Ralph. Another very long titled movie. I think they actually changed it.
So not the actual...
I think it was Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah?
Now I think it's just Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
I think. They did the same thing that Fantastic Beasts did. And they
Is
said,
it?
Shorten it.
But it actually is Breaks the Internet, right?
Yeah.
It's not Wrecks the Internet?
No, it's dumb.
They make that joke in the trailer, right?
Yeah. They're self-aware about it in the trailer, but it's still dumb.
Yeah.
It should be Wrecks the Internet.
Yeah.
Just because Breaks the Internet became
or
like
Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yeah. Electric Boogaloo. So yeah, Creed 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet. Those are going to be your guys' options for the poll this month. And like we mentioned before, we shortened the poll because Facebook won't let us, and it just kind of makes things a little easier. Poll's going to be on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, right? Right?
On YouTube, yes.
Yes, on YouTube. So yeah, find us on YouTube at The Chris and Kyle Show, or check us out on all podcasting platforms. Like, share, rate, review, tell your friends. Stuff like that. We out.
We out. Stay weird.